Well, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, depending where we are in Europe. Thank you very much for taking the time out to attend this webinar that we've put together. We're working in 2 different time zones. So there's myself and the UK team, obviously in our Sandhurst Training Centre. And then we have Olaf and Yuka working from our from Porvo in the training centre there. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you the new Connection Collar 2.0 that we have, and also the associated tools that go with it. So the inflation deflation equipment and the steam box. Are we happy to progress, Dawn? Okay, Ola, if you can show them the first part is what we call the installation tool. If you can explain the installation tool and the different components, that would be great.
Yes, thank you, Richard. So the installation tool consists of the tool head with the steam port, the bladder, and the accessories to attach the bladder on the tool head. And lubricants for inside the bladder and the release agent for on top of the bladder. There are also a shorter version with the steam port directly attached to the tool head instead of at the end. So the steam port can be switched from one end to the other to change the direction.
So
then we have those control box for easy application here at the table. The steamer. So we're going to install a connection collar with the Connection Collar 2.0 system, and we're going to cure it with the steamer. So the Midi Steamer is our newest product that we're very proud of. It has 2 heating elements, so 2 different levels, 50%, 100%. What sets this apart from the competitor is that we can select the temperature that we want, and the steamer will hold that for us. We also have a timer, so we can set for how long it will steam. And we have a manual fine adjustment control here also. We set the pressure, we set the temperature we want, and then we set the time we want, and the steamer does the rest for us. All right. Back to you, Richard.
Okay, so to begin with, like Olaf has said, that we have all the tool in the installation heads. The tapes, the lubricants and everything come in a starter kit. So we have a bag that has it all in. The control unit comes separately. We always recommend that you have one installation tool per bladder. The bladders themselves, we have hose pipe from 100 up to 300. We have then the connection size varies between on the 100 we have a 50, a 70 and a 100 by 100 bladder, and that increases. So what we're doing now is we've already made the bladder. So Y1, we've just put the steam vent on the correct end. So unlike most systems where if it's a Y to the left or a Y to the right, we have to have a new kit. All we do is once the bladder is set up, we just remove the steam valve and put it at the other end so we can push it in the right direction. So we're all ready to go now. So first thing is that we are going to turn one end over on the actual felt connection collar, and that will help us pull it onto the bladder. So what we're going to do is we're going to push the finger inside the bladder, and I'm going to slide the bladder over once they've vacuumed it down a bit more. So we've got the control box there that pressurizes and vacuum with a simple switch, so we're not having to disconnect air hoses, etc. The guys would have also applied some release agent on to the bladder before they put the connection collar on. That stops the resin in the connection collar bonding and gluing itself to the silicone bladder. So generally you'll have one setup per connection collar system that you're installing. Ideally, make the installation tool up in the workshop and not out on site, because that way you can keep it clean and we can make sure that it's 100% airtight. So we're just locating it now in the right position. So we're just lining it up with the bladder and the finger on the bladder. So now they've got in the right place, we're now going to inflate. We inflate to a very low pressure. This is 100 by 100. So we'll be around about 0.2, 0.3 bar to begin with. So slowly introduce the air pressure, watching that the finger is coming up in the right location. There we are now. It's inflated out. The guys now will check that there's no wrinkles in the felt collar. So they're just moving it around, relocating it. They've dropped a bit of pressure out, so it helps them.
Vacuum is still working, even your steam port is open.
Okay, yes, we have a non-return valve on the steam port that lets, so even though the valve's open, it's got a non-return in, so the air pressure will stop in there. We need a steam port open. Obviously on this job, we're going to steam cure it. You don't need to have it open if you're just doing an ambient cured. There we go. So all the manuals relating to the connection collar and the installation method, etc., are on the Picote Institute, so they're downloadable. So we're just adjusting the pressures with the control box. and in the background Yuka is mixing the resin. So today we're using an epoxy resin system. It has a cure time of about 13 hours. Gives us plenty of time to wet out the connection collar and install it. And then when we're happy that the connection collar is installed in the correct position, we can then introduce the steam from the steam generator, and then cure time will be around about an hour. So like I said, we're just doing that. So to go with the system, I'm not sure whether Ole can hear me, but we have a series of push rods. So our push rods, the Picote push rods, are specially designed to work with the connection collar system, and also with our packers. And we've also redesigned the grabber head, so we can actually put the standard grabber head onto the end of the rods. The rods we have two sizes. We have a 22mm rod and we have the 24mm rods. The black rods are the flexible ones, and they're great for if you're doing in-house rehabilitation because they'll go around multiple bends. The grey rods are the larger ones, and they can be pushed, and you can use them to push the packers or the connection collar, or the grabber down underground pipes. So we're doing now, we are wetting this out. You do it by hand. You just carefully rub the resin into the felt. You'll notice on all our connection collars we have black stitching. Okay, we have black stitching and we have taped seams. So normally, whichever resin system you're using, you can see the stitching, which helps you a lot when you're actually doing the installation, because obviously you're going to line up. You'll have a CCTV camera down the lateral, and then as the bladder is pushed into place, the operator can see and line it up properly. So the black stitching is a real help for the installer. So we're just making we're getting a good coverage of resin. Making sure we've got good colour and we've got resin all over the connection collar. This is a felt connection collar with tape seams. We also have some glass fibre connection collars as well. So you generally use the felt ones if you are repairing a connection and you've lined up to either side of the connection and down the lateral, and you can put in the felt ones. Or if you're working underground and the only thing you're doing is repairing the junction, the damaged junction and connection, and again for that one you generally use the glass fibre version. The process is exactly the same. With the glass fibre ones, you can use a silicate resin. When we're doing the felt ones, we recommend everybody uses an epoxy resin. So because of the long working time and cure time, you can see here the lads, they're not rushing around. They're just taking the time, making sure that they've got a good coverage of resin over the felt. So while he's doing this, the push rods we have, the Picote push rods, they are designed to be used with the steam generator. They're very flexible. They lock in place. We have a turning handle, and the beauty is that we have a mechanical fitting drive between each of the rods. So when you actually turn want to rotate the bladder around to line it up, as you turn with the handle, it's a mechanical connection all the way down, so you get that turning straight away at the bladder end. You're not having it delayed and then flicking past the junction. So they're good. Another advantage of the Picote rods are that they have been designed so normally your air rods that you use are great. You normally push them down, but you can't pull them because they'll come apart. And you normally have a retrieving cable or rope to pull the packers back out afterwards. With ours, with the mechanical connections we have, you can pull and push at the same time. There's no need to have that extra cable on there or rope to pull them back out. So because we've got the pressure regulator in the control box, what the guys are going to do here is it enables them that they can very carefully fold the finger. We use a simple push rod, and you can see here we fold it over and we are very carefully just pushing that in. We don't want to push too hard because there's a risk of puncturing the bladder. But we want to get this as far in to the bladder as possible. So we've lined it up, we've pushed it inside. What we're going to do next is with the control box. So he's going to remove any excess resin off the bladder, and then with the control box now, we're now going to put it into vacuum mode, and we're going to vacuum down the bladder and the connection collar. We're just wiping any excess resin off so we don't get any resin on any of the control equipment or the rods. And then what we're going to then is going to secure the impregnated connection collar onto the bladder. So we fold it underneath, and then it's held in place. Yuka's going to wrap some the tape around it. It's a decorator's hybrid tape that we sell, and it comes in the starter kit. It's 2.5 times round, and then we cut it off. And again, we do the same at the other end. We're folding it underneath, so you can see the fingers actually underneath now. And again, we wrap it around twice and then snap it off. That's enough to hold it in place whilst we are installing it and pushing it down the hose pipe. Each of our steam rods, push rods, are 1.5 meters long. Like I said, we did the 2 types. The black ones are very flexible and will go around multiple 90-degree bends in buildings. And the grey push rods have got a bit more rigidity, so they're easy and better to use in underground pipework, drains and sewers. So they're just adjusting the steam port. So now we're ready. Now we're going to move over to where we're going to install it. So 100 to 100 bladder, we will inflate to 0.45 of a bar or 6.5 psi. So you just push the push rods. They have locking rings on, but we can connect them with the locking ring in place, so it stops them coming apart. We're going to feed it down. We've got a camera in the lateral. Adding more of the rods on. Like I said, these are the black ones, so these these got more flexibility. We're just pushing it down. And now we can see down the lateral. So we're just waiting now for, there comes the front of the packer and the connection collar on. There we go. See the tape, you see the black stitching, so we can line it up. So we've got to push it back back up the pipe a bit. Okay, once got in place, we attach the steamer. Open up the valve, slowly open up the valve. We've got it at low pressure here because you want to double check as it's inflating in the right position. So I said before, where we are now, that's going to be about 0.45 bar pressure. What you find is the bladder gets bigger and the finger gets bigger in diameter, we reduce the internal pressure. So just putting a bit of air in. You have to remember at this stage to pull the camera back because when the packer does start coming up, it's quite easy to capture the CCTV camera. So that's inflated there. So when we're using the rods, we've got multiple rods on here, then we have to increase the pressure and the temperature depending, and that additional pressure and temperature setting is very much dependent on the amount of rods that we have in the pipe. So again, the installation pressure in the instructions manual and the quick guides. Chart 1 is for standard ambient cure, and then we have chart 2, which relates to the additional pressures you need for steam curing, and that pressure and increase in pressure and temperature is relevant to the number of rods being used. So like I said here, we're looking at an inflation pressure of 0.45 or 6.5 psi, and we're looking at a temperature of around 65-70 degrees. So working from both charts, we can then set the correct pressure for taking consideration of temperature loss and pressure loss between the steam box and the connection collar. So the further we go, the more increase we have in pressure and in temperature. So they've set the timer for about 40 minutes. So we're doing it's a short run, and we're using Bravo 1, and I think the set temperature there was about 70 degrees centigrade. So if I hand back to Dawn.
That's great. If anybody have any questions, you can put your questions in the chat for us, and Richard and you can answer them.
So yes, so if you've got any questions, If you've got any questions, then that'd be good if you can put questions into the chat.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Sorry about that. Okay. I was just going to suggest to everyone that if you have any questions for the team, for Richard or Ule or Yuka, then you could put them in the chat, which I see you've already discovered. So thanks for letting me know about the problems with the mic. Really great job, guys. If there are any questions, just put them in there. Okay, so Ian has a question. If you're unable to insert a camera down the junction, is there an alternative method to verify the installation inflation of the finger?
It's very hard if you can't get the camera down the connection. It's very hard because obviously you can have a CCTV camera, and if it's a larger size pipe, you can probably get a pan and tilt behind the bladder and go down the hose pipe. The problem is that as you inflate the bladder, then it starts to fill the hose pipe first, and then the connection, and then the finger goes up the connection. So it's very hard with having a camera if you haven't got access down the lateral. It's not impossible, but it's very hard, and it's the same issue with most of the bigger systems as well. You get the cameras behind, and it's really good. But again, you lose that vision as the whole of the bladder or the junction or the connection collar starts to inflate.
I hope that answers your question, Ian. Does anybody else have a question for Richard or the team? Okay, so Ian's asking Richard, can you gauge it on the pressure? So once pressure drops, it shows the finger has inflated.
It may be possible, depends on the sensitivity of the pressure gauges that you're using on there. It's one of those, you can see bits of it, certainly, but as that host bladder, as the main bladder gets up, yeah, you can use it pressure, but the pressure gauges work on the whole, on our system. That pressure is based on the whole bladder pressure. No problem.
Thanks, Richard. Tom's asking, is there a different method of installation when using the new fiberglass material for ambient cure?
No, the installation method is exactly the same. Exactly the same in the way of doing it. We've still got so we've started getting the glass fiber ones. We might have to look at, in the smaller pipes, we might have to slightly increase the pressure, because it's the smaller the finger, the higher the pressure that we'll use. Again, yeah, that's something we'll have a look at when we moving forward, when we start getting all of the glass fiber ones in stock.
And then Tom's also asking, is it the same pressure when curing, for example? Is there any difference in that setup?
No, it'll be again, the curing pressure will vary, and curing temperature will vary depending on the different resin systems that people are using. So we don't sell the resin system at all. We sell the installation tools and the connection collars. Generally, we will recommend that you use the similar resins that the guys are already using, because they know their work time and they know their pressures and their cure times.
Sounds good. And then Norman's asking what the size range of the connection collars are.
So from memory, the 70 mil is the smallest hose pipe, and we go up to 225 for the largest ones, I think. And then in between, then it's the different Actually, I've got the table here. So yes, the smallest one we do is 70 mil hose pipe, 50 mil lateral, and then we've got a 70 to 70, and then we've got a 100 to 50 is the smallest one we do on the 100 range, and the largest size we do is a 250 by 250. Yes, so this one we go to currently is 250 diameter DN250.
Thanks, Richard. And it is possible, of course, to contact your Picote reseller to arrange a custom bladder or connection collar as well.
Yeah,
so,
and
Mhm.
also they're just the Ys and the Ts. We can do double Ts and double Ys. We can get those connections collars made up as well.
Thanks, Richard. And Ian's asking, when you attach the bladder to the rods, is there a ratchet type mechanism to tighten down the band to ensure it's tight enough rather than just trusting the hand pressure sufficient?
Yeah, so there's a whole method of building up the connection tool. So when you buy the system, obviously we recommend that you certainly get the training. As part of the training, we will clearly show you how to build the installation tool up, and we have various tapes. We have various tapes and ratchet straps to tighten up. But it's all in the construction, making sure so that you've got it fully airtight.
Thanks for that, Richard. Does anybody else have a question for Richard or the team?
It's a very simple system to install. No. That was for Tom, that was.
Yeah, maybe we'll just skirt past that one, Tom. That's still a sore subject, as you can see from the sling.
Yeah, I'm going to stick to sewer renovation. It's safer.
Well, I don't know, Tom, I'm sorry. Yeah, Ian's asking Tom if the system's available to hire from our resellers. That's a question for our resellers to answer maybe after the webinar, but I'm sure that you can discuss that with them and they'll be able to help you out with that one. Would like to just also say that training is available at our training centre in Sandhurst. And also there is training available, of course, at customer locations if that's not a possibility or time is tight. And at our amazing training centre with the guys over in Finland as well. And actually, we will be having an open house in Finland, which is on the 8th and 9th of November at our facility in Porvoo, the training centre you can see there. It's about 45 minutes from Helsinki. It's a wonderful event. If anyone is interested in that, get in touch with someone from Picote, from myself, Richard, Steph, or your Picote reseller, and they'll be really happy to help you with that one.
Yeah, and as well as the training, we do technical site support as well. There is a charge for that. But yes, Andy and Dan are quite happy to come out to job sites and to help you on your first application and install. And we always hear available online or on mobile phones if you want any further information. But I always say to people, we've got loads of information on the Picote Institute, absolutely stacks of information regarding all of our products, whether it's a connection collar, it's a miller, it's tools, etc.
Thanks for that, Richard. Does anybody have any other questions about the system itself? Or about the Midi Steamer, the bespoke push rods, which we've seen, which are really fantastic. So we do have a question here, Richard. how many litres is the capacity of the steamer? Can it be refilled while in use to extend steaming duration?
No, it can't be refilled while using it. Obviously, it's got a pressure cap on there. So before filling, you have to make sure that there's no pressure in there and there's no temperature. I can't remember what the capacity is on there. I'm sure Olvo will be able to tell us. I did have it down somewhere, but I've left it in the other office.
Hello, Ulle here.
Hi.
Yes, the effective capacity of the steamer is 9 liters of water. The boiler itself is a bit larger, but we need to leave room for steam to generate. So 9 liters is to the full mark.
Thank you for that. I'm glad you said that, because I was going to go for 8 liters. You can use the steam generator for doing short lengths of cured in place pipe as well. So it's not just for the connection collars. And I think again, the testing we've done with the box, we're about 20 meters of DN 100 cured in place with the small steam, with that steam generator.
Okay, so what does 9 litres of water equal to in minutes or duration time or steam volume?
I think that's one for Ole.
Yes, hello. Now I'm at Jukka's computer. So this is of course very dependent on the steam flow, how much you're putting out at the moment. And but during the trade show in Rokatech, we did 4 2-meter liners, DN100, and 3 connection collars, and there was still water left for 1 connection collar. So in terms of kilograms of resin that we can heat up, we're talking about, of course, depending on other circumstances also, but like 15 kilograms or something like that.
Okay.
Thanks, Ule. And so Nikos from Greece, thank you for joining us. We're happy to use Picote collars. Please tell us about the air compressor that we must use, which is the less litres per minute that we need.
We use just the standard compressor that you use for installing cured in place pipes. So I think that's 2.
The connection collar, the steam port, it bleeds 70 liters per minute at a half a bar. So if you have half a bar in the connection collar, that's the minimum requirement. You should go double the size, so 150 liter per minute compressor should be sufficient for doing connection collars.
Sounds good. Thanks, Ule. Do we have any other questions regarding the new Midi Steamer or the connection collar system?
So like we said before, that the push rods, we can use connection collar, we can use it on our packer with our packers, and we can also use it with the standard grabber head that we have. We've now had that changed so it fits lovely onto the end of the push rod, which does make the push rods very, very useful for the guys that are working in buildings or out in the highway, in the pavement.
And like everything with Picote, it's very multifunctional. We like to get the most out of everything that we do. If you do have any further questions, of course, you can contact any one of our technical team as well. You've got the connector there,
Right.
Richard, turn handle.
So that's the turning handle. And so that's we use all the time for turning the rods round to line up the connection collar. And then that's just the grabber head that we fit on. So it's useful in 4-inch pipes and above. So yeah, it's quite useful, and it just adds that to the versatility of the rods. And like I said, most rods, air rods, are used for pushing and not for pulling, whereas ours are used for pushing and pulling. They're very flexible, and we have they can take the steam as well.
Thanks, Richard. So Ian's asking, what's the maximum length you can push down a main line, or can you attach a loop to the steam valve top to pull the packer in?
So we generally say push down 40 meters. When you get longer than the 40 meters, then yes, if you've got access, you can put a loop on there and you can pull it as well.
Thank you. That was a good question. So, like I say, the team are always available if you have any questions. You can also find information on our website, picotegroup.com. And there is also our Picote Institute, of course. And if you're not a member of Picote Institute, I would suggest that you get registered for free. And there you have access to all of our free courses. There's also a huge resource of information there about all of Picote's equipment and tools. And like I say, it doesn't cost anything. Just go to picoteinstitute.com and get registered. There's videos on there. There's lots of very useful information, and there is the free courses as well. And thank you, Steph. Steph has put up the technical contacts there for the guys in the UK. Of course, you can always be in touch with our guys in Finland as well. So Ule and Jukka and Kimo over there too. So, and there's the website on there. Thanks, Steph. So if anybody has any questions after the event or they think of something, of course, you can also go to your Picote reseller who has a lot of information for you. If you want to find out about prices, that's who you have to go and talk to in availability. But anything else, of course, you're free to come to talk to anyone at Picote at any time, and we'd be more than happy to help you with that.
We're always happy to do demos down here in Sandhurst, and that way you can see, come down, you can show you all the equipment, you can have a go, and you can see all the range of tools and millers that we have as well. So it's always a good day out to come down to see us.
It is, and we're always very happy to see MD that pops down. What we will do afterwards is, when we had a little bit of time, we'll put all this together into a little YouTube video so that for your reference, so you can watch it again if you want to spend a little bit more time in it. And like I said, otherwise, just give us a call or email. And I would like to just say thank you very much for your time this morning, for spending time with us. We really appreciate it. Hopefully it's not been a bad way to spend some time on your Friday. I'd like to say thank you very much to our team in Finland, doing a great job as always. And thanks to Richard for taking us through the process. And this is the first time we're doing a webinar for a while, so thank you for bearing with us, and hopefully we got there in the end. So Ule is the man. You're quite right, Tom. He's great. Thank you. So thank you very much, everyone. I hope it's been informative. We will be having another live webinar next month on the 27th of October, Friday 27th at the same time, 11:30, and that's going to be on our Pro Packer system. So it's all about our new Pro Packer system, which is available now. Or if you want to wait to find out a little bit more about it, we will have a live webinar to show you that next month. And that's a good
Ian
point.
is right.
Thank you, Ian. If you want to look at it again and you've got nothing to do tonight and you're sitting there with your bottle of beer wondering what to do with yourself, then you can, of course, watch this all over again from our US team and get the US perspective on it. So they will have a live demonstration tonight, which is at 7:30 p.m. UK time. And if anybody wants the link to that, then that is on our LinkedIn and Facebook. I don't know if anybody can type it into the chat now for you. But thank you very much. But feel free to join that one too, because you can always have a bit more Picote in your life. So. Okay, but unless there's any other questions, we'd just like to say thank you very much and have a wonderful weekend.